A Dream Come True by MJNight03. Chapter 8. Pack Your Things. I'll confess I'm not looking forward to this one. They'd finally done it. The orchard. It was beautiful. It was everything Victor had ever dreamed of, and so much more. And they'd done it together. They had worked together, despite everything, and saved their people. Everything was going to be okay after all. Nova! Victor jumped, spinning to face the intruder. Nova's father. Then his aunt approached from the other side. The colour drained from his face. What was she doing here? What were either of them doing here? It was too soon. How could they possibly have known that the gate was open? It had only just happened. His eyes shot to Vera, who seemed to fold in on herself. No. No. She wouldn't have. She couldn't have. Could she? Ray warned us that something was wrong. Nova's father spoke first, shattering the silence that settled over the orchard. I sent you to get all the blood fruit at any cost. Wait, what? The words slipped out before he could stop them. Nova spun to face him. All the blood fruit? Her eyes danced with fear, her mouth moving, but no words came out. No defense. No denial. It was true. You were going to let us starve? It wasn't a question. He could hear the blood rushing in his ears. He needed her to say something, to tell him that he was wrong, that her dad was lying, say that it had actually been his plan, but she was never going to actually follow it. But she didn't. Thank you for alerting me, Vera. His aunt stepped forward. And Victor! He flinched when she bared her fangs at him. She'd never done that before. Working with our enemies? I should have you defanged. He gulped, tongue running along his fangs anxiously. The worst punishment a vampire could ever receive. As far as he knew, it had only happened 3 times. Treason. None of those vampires were alive anymore to tell the tale of their pain. This experiment, the disdain was clear in the Daywalker's tone, ends now. Then all Victor saw was flames. Not the kind of flames that Nova controlled. There was nothing beautiful or sparkly about the fire that her dad made. It was only a force of pure hate, made with the intent to destroy them. Destroy him. His aunt summoned a gale, and Victor immediately knew what was going to happen. Wait! He cried, lunging forward. But it was too late. Stop! Nova mirrored his shout. The commander of the Daywalkers launched his flame. His aunt let go of her storm. In an instant, the orchard was in flames, the wind carrying the fire further and further, causing more and more destruction as the storm swept through the trees. Where there had once been life, hope for his people, for all of their people, there now lay only ash. They would have been lucky if even half the fruit had survived. If there was ever a hope to split the blood fruit, he knew now there was none. There was barely enough to feed one town for another generation, let alone 2. A purple wave shot out from below them, and before he knew it, the outsiders were all collapsing to the ground. Oh God! Zed! Victor rushed to catch the zombie as he fell, his skin turning translucent as his band shut down for a moment. You destroyed nearly half the blood fruit! He turned to look at Ray, who stood in front of their commander. You destroyed nearly half the blood fruit! He looked at Ray, who stood in front of their commander. Yeah, and you helped! Nova whirled on him. Victor watched helplessly as his aunt and the commander declared war. War. He knew his people wouldn't survive this. Neither of them would. I really thought you were the leader our people needed. God, that was cold. Only a day ago, he would have been right there beside her, comforting her, defending her, reassuring her that her father was a jerk and had no idea what he was talking about. He hated himself for how much he still wanted to, despite everything. "Nova, please! Understand, I was trying to—" "Pack your things, Ray." She spun, her eyes meeting his. It was too late to pretend he hadn't been watching them. Too late to hide the hurt and heartbreak in his eyes. She turned away first. She really did do that a lot, didn't she? Victor tried to ignore the ache in his chest as he helped his friends get Zed back to the camp. God, how had everything gone so wrong so fast? Was everything a lie? An act? A plot to get him to lower his guard so that she could sneak in and steal all the blood fruit? He supposed it didn't matter. Not anymore. Their people were going to war. A lot of them, probably most of them, wouldn't make it out the other side. Whatever this camp had meant, whatever it could have been, they were now so much worse off than they were before it. At least before, there was hope. Now, there was nothing. His eyes caught hers as he left the counsellor's cabin for the last time. Her mouth moved, but still, she had nothing to say. Victor turned away from her first, this time. It was time to pack his bags and go home. Prepare for war. He walked through the open door of his cabin. All his rage and sorrow bubbled up when he laid eyes on his friend, who was already finished packing. Of course she was. "Congrats, Vera." She jumped. "You got everything you wanted." "You think I wanted this?" She followed him to his bunk. "You put us all at risk by blindly trusting that daywalker." His heart stung. "I overheard her talking to Ray." Vera continued to follow him as he threw his things in the bag. "They were going to steal all the fruit." He paused. She had overheard them? When? "I was just trying to do the right thing. I just wanted us to be safe. Do you feel safe?" He wailed on her. "Because I don't. The orchard's in ashes, and we hurt the people who wanted to help us." She didn't argue. He shouldered past her, grabbing his sketchbook from the table, and threw it into his bag. Victor's eyes caught on something under his bunk. He zipped his bag up and left the room without looking back. He didn't need it anymore. It could stay in the camp and burn for all he cared. "Wait!" Victor cried, lunging forward, and instantly Nova knew why. "Stop!" she cried, reaching for her father. But it was too late. Her father's fireball grew, bigger than anything she'd ever seen. The fireball alone would have been enough to burn down all their greenhouses combined. Combined with the wind from the vampire Eldris, the orchard stood no chance of surviving. She supposed, in the end, they were lucky that only half the trees went up in flames. Half of the orchard of life. Half of the blood fruit left in the entire world. Gone in an instant. The shockwave that followed was enough to send Nova tumbling to the ground. Cries surrounded her. She watched Victor catch his head as he collapsed. "You destroyed nearly half the blood fruit!" She whirled on Ray, her heart pumping in her chest. "Yeah, and you helped!" she shouted. She couldn't believe he'd done this to her. None of this would have happened if he hadn't gone to her father. None of this would have happened if he had just trusted her. Trusted that she was doing what she knew was right. Trusted her to make her own decisions for once. She once thought they had moved past his petty jealousy. But clearly, she was wrong. "Pack your things. We're headed home." Nova spun around. No, no, no. This couldn't be it. She could still fix this, couldn't she? They could still work together, harvest what was left and divide it among their people. Maybe if they left the orchard be for a few more years, the fruit would grow back. She couldn't let it end this way. She opened her mouth to argue, but the cold expression on her father's face made her stop short. I really thought you were the leader our people needed. She could have cried. He turned away without a second look, leaving her standing there. On all sides, vampires and daywalkers turned away. Nova, please, understand. I was trying... Ray's voice caught in his throat. She couldn't even look at him right now. I was just trying to... Pack your things, Ray. She levelled her voice. She couldn't let him know how close her heart was to breaking. Speaking of heartbreak, she turned. Victor was still there, watching her. The hurt and betrayal were clear in his eyes, and it made her want to curl up into a ball. She couldn't stand it. She turned away and ran. The camp was in chaos when she arrived. The daywalkers and vampires glared at each other, were worse than they had ever been, even on their first day there. The likelihood of them all getting out of there before a fight broke out was low. Her heart froze when Victor stepped out of the counsellor's cabin. His eyes were dark, his hair a mess. He must have run his hands through it 1,000 times. As if sensing her eyes on him, he looked up. Nova had 1,000 things she wished she could say in that moment. Had to explain. She had to apologise. Had to explain to him that she was never going to follow through with her father's plan. Had to tell him that he meant so much more to her than she could ever put into words. She wanted to take his hands in hers, to soothe the lines of stress and pain that were etched into his face. More than anything, she wished they could go back to that morning. Back to him laughing, bumping his shoulder into hers as he teased her happily. She couldn't get any out of it. Victor turned away, climbing the steps to his cabin and disappearing. Numbly, Nova carried on. She needed to pack. Only next, she found herself face to face with Ray. Nova. His face was pained. I keep giving you chances. She cut him off. Chances to not screw up everything for me. Chances to make the right decision. For once in your life. And you keep messing it up. Her voice cracked. She sped past him before she could see his face fall. Her cabin was empty, thankfully. The rest of the daywalkers had already packed. They were all waiting outside. She knew. Waited for her to lead them back to Sunnyside, where nothing but war and hunger awaited them. And it was all her fault. The tears stung her eyes, but she pushed past them, throwing her things into her bag without a care. Until she came to the unknown flower, sitting on top of her pillow, exactly where she had left it that morning. The crimson petals blinked up at her. They were the exact shade of his eyes often took on. They were the exact shade his eyes took on so often. The same shade as the majority of his hair. She wondered what he had done with his crown. Probably threw it into the trash. She wouldn't have blamed him if he did. She kissed the flower before laying it on her pillow. She didn't deserve to wear it in her hair. Not anymore. She turned away. God, how had she messed up so badly? She should have talked to Victor. Should have at least warned him about her dad's plans. That way, at least he wouldn't have been blindsided into believing that she would actually betray him like that. She should have been sterner with Ray last night. Should have made him listen to her, instead of throwing her hands up in a huff and leaving him with a chance to ruin everything again. She should have stood up to her father, told him that he was wrong about the vampires, about everything, about her. She would have done anything besides what she did, which was nothing. With one last look, she grabbed her bag and closed the cabin door behind her for the last time. The daywalkers stood up when she exited. 18 daywalkers, all looking to her for leadership in this war. She eyed the other half of the fire pit. The vampires were still all there, too, glaring at her. Vargas and Vera sat alone on a log. Neither would meet her eye. Nova blinked back the tears. She wouldn't even get a chance to say goodbye to him. Goodbye. She paused before reaching Camp Rayburn Arch. The counsellors. She couldn't just leave them. Not after everything they'd tried to do for them. Everything they had done. Wait here, she said to no one in particular, before dropping her bag and rushing back to the tree. She knocked once before pushing the door open, only to find it empty. Where could they be? She looked around in panic. They're at the roots. Nova jumped, spinning around when Vargas spoke. He and Vera were still sitting on their stump, both watching her. Well, Vera sat up a little straighter. What are you waiting for? He's already there, you know. Nova felt even worse about how everything happened, as she watched the vampire watch her. Everything Vera had done for her only a few days ago. She had gone and screwed whatever connection they had made, too. The one person in the world that she connected with, who had understood her struggles with her mother and met her in stride, comforting her in a way no one else had been able to, had even wanted to, before. Victor's aunt had said that Vera had warned them. She could only have done that if she overheard something. Her conversation with Ray. The same person that Vera herself had helped heal her connection with. She could only imagine how betrayed she must have felt. Must still feel. Yet, here she was. Still trying to help Nova. Her heart was stuck in her throat. Vera, Just, the redhead sighed, looking down again. Hurry up and go, before you miss him. Thank you, her voice caught. I'll make this right. I promise. Right, Vargas snorted humorously. I'd love to see that. Nova turned and ran for the staircase. She didn't care that they didn't believe in her. She would fix this. She had to. Someone had to. The counsellor's cabin was empty. They had to be here. Victor didn't know where else to look if they weren't. He had to say goodbye. Had to thank them for everything they'd done. He was the person he was today, because they'd trusted him to try and mend the rift between the daywalkers and the vampires. Just because it didn't work didn't mean he didn't owe them his life. I thought we had more time. Zed's voice carried down the channel as Victor got closer. They were here, thank God. If I would have known, I would have spent every second of freshman year with you. And you. And you. Victor paused before opening the root system. They deserved their moment together. I just love you guys so much. I'm so sorry. Victor's fangs pressed into his lip to distract him from the tears that stung behind his eyes. Another thing that was all his fault. They'd fixed the tower. They'd stopped the pulse. They were supposed to be fine now. Even if the vampires and daywalkers couldn't have gotten along. Even if splitting the fruit was just a stupid pipe dream. Even if they were always destined to go to war. The burning of the orchard was an unnecessary evil. And that hadn't just been the commander's fault. It had been his aunt's too. The roots are under a lot of stress and pain. He looked up when Eliza started analysing the roots again. And the pulse is growing exponentially. Well, that's fantastic. Zed's choked words mirrored Victor's thoughts exactly. Keeps getting better and better. I'm gonna check on the campus. No, Zed. Victor made his presence known. You're in rough shape. You should stay here. I got this. Let me handle it from here. He had no idea how he would do that, but he couldn't bear to watch the zombie struggle anymore. He deserved to rest. It's my people that are at war. It was my people who burned down the orchard and ruined everything. I'll be the one to fix it. Somehow. He bit into his lip again. We'll fix it. He jumped, head jerking to the side. God, he hadn't heard her coming at all. It was like they were out of sync now. Take care of each other, she addressed the group before turning to him. Victor. He looked down, unable to meet his eyes. You've got to believe me when I say I'd never do anything to hurt you or your people. Did he, though? He wanted to believe her. He did. He knew that this thing between them, whatever it was, meant something to him. But did it to her? He couldn't tell what was real and what was fake anymore. He chose the easiest answer. Yeah, but your dad would. And he knew he'd struck her. It felt almost unfair, using her dad's expectations against her. But deep down, they both knew it was true. And, last time I checked, he continued when she didn't argue, you work for him. I'm my own person. She stepped closer to him, her eyes clear and bright, holding the same fire that he fell in love with. You showed me that. Victor swallowed. Being here with you, it's opened my eyes. And I know something. He couldn't look away from her if he tried. These visions brought us together for a reason, and I... Her voice caught. I don't know what that reason is, but I know it isn't so our people could hate each other more. Victor was completely honest with himself. He'd almost forgotten about the visions. Hers and his. He had forgotten what it was that had drawn him to her in the first place. All he knew now was her. Yeah. He blinked first. You're right. It doesn't add up. But we do. She took his hand and his heart jolted. 2 weeks and a heartbreak later. Yet this girl still held the rhythm of his heart hostage. I know. His voice cracked, but he let himself smile. Maybe he could believe in this. Believe in her. Believe in them. Even if the world fell apart, even if their people never recovered from this, they would still have each other. He could count on her, just like she could count on him. He knew that now, and he felt stupid for ever doubting her. His eyes stayed on their joined hands. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed this one. Oh my god. MJ, you are a masterful writer. God, I'm almost crying. That was beautifully done. The way you wrote that he couldn't actually hate her. He was angry and confused and hurt and betrayed, but there wasn't hatred. I got the impression in the movie that it's just not in him to hate her, and not in her to hate him. It just can't. That bond they share, it's so deep. And it's beautiful that she just, no, I have this. I'm not letting him go. And ran after him, and just the fact that he wanted to believe her so badly that when she was sincere, he saw it. It's just gorgeous. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to be notified for whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and albino pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.